There is a statement that most people immediately reject when they first hear it. Your mind is weak. Not because you lack intelligence, not because you lack potential, not because you have failed more than others. The weakness is far more subtle than that. It appears in moments so ordinary that they often escape notice entirely. A decision is made, then quietly abandoned. A responsibility appears, then is postponed. A difficult truth emerges, then is avoided. The weakness is not in the challenge itself, it is in the movement away from the challenge. Long before the modern world filled itself with endless discussions about productivity, self-improvement, and motivation, the warriors of Japan understood this principle with remarkable clarity. Miyamoto Musashi did not spend his life studying how to feel stronger. He studied how to become unmoved. In the discipline of Bushido, strength was not measured by emotion, it was measured by steadiness. A warrior was not judged by what he intended to do, he was judged by what remained unchanged when discomfort arrived. This is the story of a man named Daichi, and it is the story of how he discovered that weakness was never what he thought it was. Chapter 1: The Comfortable Illusion. Daichi believed he was strong. He worked hard, made plans, and carried ambitions that stretched years into the future. He read books, organized his schedule, and often spoke about the life he intended to build. To anyone observing from the outside, he appeared disciplined. Yet there was a contradiction he could not explain. The things that mattered most to him were often the things he delayed. When difficult work appeared, he postponed it. When uncomfortable conversations became necessary, he waited. When meaningful opportunities required courage, he hesitated. These moments seemed insignificant on their own, but over time they accumulated. Each delay left behind a small trace. Each hesitation weakened something invisible. Each retreat taught his mind a lesson. The lesson was simple. Discomfort means move away. Daichi never consciously chose this belief. It formed quietly through repetition. Every time he escaped a challenge, even briefly, the pattern strengthened. And because the pattern strengthened, the challenges themselves began to feel larger. What he interpreted as weakness was actually conditioning. His mind had learned to retreat. Chapter 2: The Samurai's Definition. The samurai defined weakness differently than most people do today. To them, weakness was not fear. Fear appears naturally. Weakness was obedience to fear. Fear could stand in the room. Doubt could stand beside it. Uncertainty could remain present. But none of these things were permitted to determine action. Musashi often emphasized directness. A warrior who allows his attention to scatter loses effectiveness before conflict even begins. The battle is not lost when the sword falls. It is lost when the mind becomes divided. Bushido demanded unity. Thought and action were expected to move together. The moment the mind separated itself from reality, weakness entered. This principle struck Daichi deeply when he first encountered it. He realized he had spent years attempting to eliminate discomfort instead of learning how to remain steady within it. He had been fighting the wrong battle. Chapter 3: The First Observation. One evening, Daichi sat alone preparing to complete an important project. The work itself was straightforward. Nothing about it exceeded his capabilities. Yet, before beginning, he felt resistance. His attention drifted toward distractions. His thoughts produced alternatives. His mind suggested that tomorrow would be a better day. Normally, he would have obeyed these suggestions. This time, he paused. Instead of following the impulse, he observed it. What he noticed surprised him. The resistance appeared before the work had even started. The difficulty was not in the task. The difficulty was in his reaction to the task. For the first time, he saw the movement clearly. His mind was retreating before reality had given it any reason to retreat. The weakness was occurring internally long before any visible action took place. Chapter 4: The Habit of Retreat. As the weeks passed, Daichi began observing this pattern everywhere. It appeared when he woke in the morning. It appeared during exercise. It appeared during conversations. It appeared whenever discomfort approached. The mind moved backward automatically. Sometimes it called itself caution. Sometimes it called itself planning. Sometimes it called itself logic. But beneath each explanation was the same impulse: retreat. The samurai trained specifically to recognize this movement. Hours of repetitive practice, stillness, and disciplined routine were not designed merely to build endurance. They were designed to reveal the mind's instinctive desire to escape discomfort. Once revealed, the practitioner could stop obeying it. This was the beginning of mastery, not control of the world, control of reaction. Daichi realized that most people never reach this stage because they never observe the movement itself. They experience the impulse and immediately become it. Chapter 5: The Discipline of Remaining. A Zen teacher once described discipline in a way that would have seemed strange to many modern minds. He said, "Discipline is not forcing yourself forward, it is refusing to move backward." The distinction transformed Daichi's understanding. He had always imagined discipline as aggression: more effort, more pressure, more intensity. But the samurai often practiced something quieter: remaining. When discomfort appeared, remain. When uncertainty appeared, remain. When boredom appeared, remain. The goal was not to conquer the moment. The goal was to stop abandoning it. Daichi began practicing this in small ways. When restlessness appeared during work, he remained. When awkward silence appeared during conversation, he remained. When fear appeared before action, he remained. The discomfort did not disappear, but something else began disappearing instead: the urge to flee. Chapter 6: The Collapse of Excuses. As Daichi continued practicing, he noticed another change. His excuses became visible. Previously, they had felt convincing. Now they appeared predictable. Every excuse served the same purpose: delay action, protect comfort, avoid friction. The content changed, but the function remained identical. The samurai understood this well. A warrior who negotiates endlessly with reality becomes unreliable, not because he lacks talent, but because his action depends on favorable conditions. Strength requires something else. It requires consistency independent of preference. Daichi slowly stopped arguing with every uncomfortable task. He stopped waiting for motivation. He stopped demanding emotional readiness. And because he stopped negotiating, much of the mental exhaustion disappeared. Chapter 7: Identity and Strength. Months passed. The changes were not dramatic. No sudden transformation occurred. No extraordinary moment arrived. Instead, a quieter shift began. Daichi's identity changed. He stopped seeing himself as someone attempting discipline. He began seeing himself as someone who remains. This distinction altered everything. Before, every challenge required a new decision. Now the decision had already been made. He would stay. He would act. He would not retreat. The samurai understood the power of identity deeply. A warrior does not repeatedly ask what he should do. He acts according to what he has become. Discipline ceases to feel like effort when it becomes nature. Strength ceases to feel forced when it becomes identity. Daichi was beginning to understand this truth. Chapter 8. The Mind That Endures. As his practice deepened, Daichi noticed a form of strength he had never previously experienced. It was not intensity. It was not confidence. It was not excitement. It was steadiness. Pressure still appeared. Uncertainty still appeared. Fear still appeared. But none of them immediately controlled his behavior. There was now space between feeling and action. Within that space existed freedom. The samurai cultivated this relentlessly, not because they sought perfection, because they understood that a man who is ruled by every impulse remains weak regardless of his talent. Strength is not the absence of discomfort, it is independence from discomfort, the ability to remain present while it exists. Daichi realized that this quality had been available to him all along. He had simply spent years moving away from it. Conclusion: your mind is weak. When the samurai spoke of strength, they were not describing physical power. They were describing a relationship with discomfort. A weak mind retreats automatically. A strong mind remains. The difference is often invisible. It appears in the first reaction, the first impulse, the first movement of attention when resistance arrives. Most people spend their lives trying to remove difficulty from their path. The samurai chose a different approach. They removed the habit of retreat. And when retreat disappeared, something remarkable emerged. Clarity, presence, stability. The mind became unified. Action became direct. Energy stopped leaking into hesitation and avoidance. If your mind is weak, it is not because you are broken. It is because weakness has been practiced. And what has been practiced can be replaced, not through intensity, not through motivation, but through the quiet discipline of remaining exactly where discomfort appears. A warrior is not the man who never feels fear. He is the man who no longer moves away when fear arrives. And when that habit is cultivated long enough, the mind ceases to retreat. It ceases to divide. It ceases to flinch. And in that stillness, strength finally begins.